I'm Jim Farley, and this is Drive. We're all excited to bring you the third season of Drive coming up on March 5th. But today I want to share some recent conversations I've had with other podcasters about our shared love of cars and racing. In a moment, you'll hear a conversation I had with Emma, one of the hosts of the Track Talk podcast. But first, here's another conversation recorded with Zoe and Hannah, the hosts of Fan Behavior, that we recorded at the Drive podcast studio at a recent Ford Performance event in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Well, we're so fortunate to be joined by Ford CEO Jim Farley. Jim, thank you for being here with us.
Sure, of course.
We have a Formula One podcast. And
I know all about it.
Oh, great. Okay, wonderful.
You don't have to explain anything.
I wanted to ask you about Ford coming back into Formula One, because I think there's a lot of people who listen to our show who are newer Formula One fans.
Oh, okay.
Who maybe
they may not know.
They don't know the Ford of the past and all of the titles you've won.
I can explain it quickly. Yep.
Yeah, I would love to know also like what that was like getting back into the sport. And I think a lot of people don't know how much time it actually takes to get back into Formula One. So if you could kind of share that whole process.
Sure. Yeah, look, when I grew up, Ford was the dominant powertrain in Formula One, the Ford DFV. One of our PR heads, Walter Hayes, funded Cosworth, two guys, to build an engine for Formula One. Wound up dominating Formula One for 20 years. And Ford was in. And then when we bought the PAG brands like Jaguar and Range Rover, the company, I wasn't at the company, but the company bought a Formula One team, which then ended so badly that we sold it to Stewart Racing, which turned into Red Bull. So we're actually back in our old team,
right? That's awesome.
Which actually happens a lot in Formula One.
Yeah.
Look, I knew Liberty, I knew Chase, I knew what quality people they were, and I had been watching Formula One my whole life, and I could feel something was changing in the U.S. towards Formula One.
Yeah.
NASCAR had changed, and people were looking for something new. And I knew they were going to do Netflix, and I thought that was a good chance. So we started talking, hey, how do we get in Formula One? But we've owned teams before. We've done everything in Formula One.
Yeah.
And most of it, we had to learn some tough lessons. So when we decided to go back, we wanted to do it the right way. We wanted tech transfer. So we did it really for technology transfer, not for marketing. And it's really about software, the prognostics on the vehicle we can use for our pro customers. We have 1 million subscriptions now for our pro customers for productivity. They do predictive failure of components on the Formula One car. We can use that for our predictive failure of our vans.
Yeah.
Or aero. In the EV world, aero is super important because the batteries are so expensive. So on a full-size truck EV, you can cut 100 miles out of the battery size or 100 miles extra range if you have better aero. So working with Adrian Newey on our new vehicles for aero was really attractive. Plus at the time, Max and the team were really challengers.
Yeah.
Like they had a serious attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now everyone thinks of them as kind of the robotic winning team. But back when we were looking at this 5-6 years ago, they were the opposite of that.
Yeah.
They were looking to win their first world championship, Max was. And we were like, this is our attitude. We're Americans.
Yes.
We want that kind of attitude.
Totally.
And that's why we did the deal. But we've been working for 3 years. I was just talking to Christian. We just ran the engine for the first time, and we're right on track.
Yeah.
But it's hard work.
Yeah.
And in 12 months, we're going to be sitting here talking about, hey Farley, how are you guys going to do?
Yeah.
Are you going to be mid back? Or are you going to be like, how are you going to do?
Yeah. Right.
The questions are going to change a lot.
Sure.
And that's Formula One. The easy part is saying you want to do it.
Right.
The hard part
is doing it.
Is competing.
Yeah, sure.
And we know that pressure because we've been doing it for decades.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually leads us very beautifully into our next question, which is obviously Red Bull's been very dominant for the last handful of years. Like, how are you handling the pressure, the expectation that of Red Bull?
Any good design, you talk to Adrian Newey or any of the great designers, they'll say when the rules change, that's when they make a difference.
Yeah.
And so the rules are changing. Maybe the biggest rules we've ever seen in the sport.
Yeah.
And so this is incredible risk.
Yeah.
For a company like Ford to come in at this time when the rules are completely changing. We're not running a Ferrari engine or some other person's engine for a couple years.
Yeah.
And then we learn, no, we're going full money, and it's going to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
We're used to that in racing. We race around the world. You see all these people here. but the pressure's going to be huge on us.
Yeah.
Very much so. Also, with Cadillac joining
Yeah.
in 2026 too, and you kind of mentioned this, like,
Wait, are they using a Cadillac engine?
well, that's a good point, yeah. But I guess more so from the American
Fair
fan
point.
perspective, and
Oh,
just
yeah?
like, since you've been involved in racing in all levels,
Yeah.
different categories for so long, have you noticed like a big shift in the way that Americans have embraced Formula One in just like the last 3, 4, or 5 years?
Oh, yeah.
When talking to you or anything like that?
Yeah. No, it's like, we went Daytona 24 last weekend. It was a big deal. It's the first international win for Mustang in a long time, and we finished third in Le Mans. That was a big deal in our first year.
Yeah.
But when we tell employees or my daughter or anyone we're going to have a Formula One announcement, totally different.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
completely different. You're
Yeah.
talking about a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Liberty did a lot of that, and Formula
Yeah,
One did
right.
a lot of that, and they deserve totally the credit. Chase and Sean Bratches, who did the Netflix deal, I mean, they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah.
But I mean, the sports drama has always been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just now more people know.
I know.
It's
well,
not
we're
a
here
secret
because
anymore.
Of Drive to Survive.
Yeah,
That's how we
that's what I'm
ended
saying.
up here. Yeah.
Well, you can thank Sean Bratches.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean, for putting us in a booth with Jim.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, one kind of rapid fire question. If you were the team principal of Red Bull and you could pick 2 drivers from the past to be on your team, who would it be? Because I would also pick Max, but you can't pick him because he's from the current.
Jacques Villeneuve?
Yeah, okay.
Or his father.
Yeah.
Villeneuve?
His father, yeah,
Mhm.
Gilles. He was so exciting and so, and of course Fangio. I was born in Buenos Aires, and
Oh, yes.
and Fangio to me, if you could get a Fangio when he was 16 or 17, he won his Formula One championships in his 40s and 50s.
Wow.
That guy was unbelievable.
Yeah.
No one talks about him anymore, but where I grew up in Argentina, that guy was Superman.
Yeah.
And he was calm as a cucumber. I would love to see him competing against Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
If they were both 16 or 17 or
Sure.
18 or 19, you know. I mean, Michael was amazing, drove for Ford for a while, and Benetton, but and he's amazing, and thank you, Michael. But
Yeah.
but we as American company, we like drivers that have some attitude,
Yeah.
some personality.
Some moxie.
Yeah.
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 And Gilles, now that dude was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
There's a new documentary around that era,
Okay.
and you get a lot of interviews about Gilles from his teammates, and it's beautiful.
Love it.
that.
We'll have to check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
I
you
love
should.
attitude.
Yeah.
If you are interested, we have a Ford and Formula One quiz we'd like to
Okay.
ask
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
and I
good.
feel like you probably
Yeah, let's go.
got it knocked out, but
Okay.
I'm not even gonna give him the multiple choice.
Okay, great.
Okay, so do you know how many constructor titles has Ford won in Formula One?
Oh, that's a good question. I would have no idea. I don't know, 10 or 15.
10.
Okay.
Got it
Nailed
right.
it.
Got it right.
How many driver championships has Ford won?
Wow, that would be a lot. That'd be even more, I think.
It is
Uh,
more.
More than
yeah.
10.
15, maybe? I don't know.
13.
13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Which F1 driver won the most championships with Ford? I do have a multiple choice if you would like the multiple choice.
I mean, Jackie won 3 or 4. Michael won maybe 1. That's a good question. I would probably say Jackie.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Very good. What was the first year Ford won a constructor's title? I also have multiple choice for this one, but
It would be 69, 70 around there.
68.
68.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Do you know who the first American Formula One champion was?
No.
It was. Yes, I do know it.
I worked for him. Put myself through graduate school.
Oh, amazing.
Wait.
Do I
His
know?
father was a postmaster in
Oh.
Santa Monica, California.
Well, see,
First American Formula One
Jim,
champion.
you weren't supposed to
Phil
speak
Hill.
the quiz.
Oh,
Phil Hill.
Okay.
Oh,
I did not.
okay.
That's
He-
not. That's not
and he
right.
was
Yeah.
driving for Ferrari.
Oh, amazing.
Wow. Okay. And then the last question was, who were the last 2 drivers to drive for Ford in 2004?
Oh my, it's like Johnny Herbert or
No.
it'd be no.
It's one's an Australian driver, and one is actually, to be honest, I'm
It's not Mark
sure.
Webber, is it?
It was
It
Mark
was.
Webber.
Okay, yeah, and give me a hint.
I
Team
don't actually.
principal and him share a first name. Red Bull team principal and him share a first name. I'm not familiar with his work.
Christian.
Calvin.
Christian Klein.
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going
Calvin
with
Klein. Christian
Okay.
Klein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christian Klein. Yeah.
I know. I did not know. We're obviously newer fans, but I
Yeah.
didn't. I wasn't familiar with his name.
Yes.
That's cool. Go
Well,
for it.
thank you
All
very
right.
much
Yeah, thank
for
you.
everything. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
At that same event, I also talked with Emma, one of the hosts of the Track Talk podcast.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
My name is Emma Novak. We have a motorsports podcast called Track Talk Pod.
I know what it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I watch it with my daughter, Grace.
No way.
Or listen to it, yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. I'm a little flattered. So we're super excited to chat with you today. And I really wanted to talk about Ford and Red Bull and Formula One, just because, our audience is a huge Formula One fan. I sat in on one of the panel sessions earlier, and one of the quotes that one of the guys said was they wanted to bring fans along with them on their journey and understand the growth in technology, especially with as we transfer move into more hybrid and EV models especially. So it's cool to see Ford kind of jump into the Formula One side of things. I wanted to chat with you actually about the saying, win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
I don't believe that.
No, you
No,
don't. Okay. I wanted to ask, just because
maybe it worked in the 60s and 70s, but no, I think our racing should be a business by itself.
Okay.
Self-sustaining. The reason why Ford gets in and out of racing is because there are different personalities that run the company, and some of them love racing and some of them think it's an unnecessary expense. So to change that, we want to create a sustainable racing program where we basically sell race cars to people, whether they race at Le Mans or Daytona or NHRA or anything, create a ladder for Mustang, off-road, and then we make enough in racing that we never stop.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was chatting with my co-host Hannah about it, and she wasn't familiar with that term, and I was like, it actually started when
I grew up with that term.
With Henry Ford winning the sweepstakes in 1901 or something.
Yes.
So I just wanted to get your opinion on it. Okay, interesting. So at Track Talk, we love cross collaboration. We love introducing our listeners to new forms of motorsport.
I see.
Which sometimes can be a challenge, especially if people are so stuck.
How about
in their
Dakar?
ways.
Are they interested in Dakar? Because that's super interesting.
So I personally, for me, got my first experience today riding in the Dakar Raptor.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. I have the
Amazing.
worst action shots of me because it's not good.
Yeah.
But it's more.
So, Carlos Sainz.
His dad
races for us at Dakar. And Nani is his.
I was chatting with him today. Yeah.
So that they're total Formula One connected.
I know. So I wanted to ask you, are you hoping to use the Ford name in Formula One to bring your audience over to Dakar or IMSA and NASCAR?
Yes.
Do you really think? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Simple answer. Yeah.
Yeah. My daughter Grace is a good example. She got interested in racing through Formula One. Now she cares if Joey won the championship in NASCAR. We're racing at Dakar, King of the Hammers. Baja. We're doing Super V8. She's super interested in Super V8 in Australia now.
How old is your daughter?
She's 17.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And she took the performance driving school here at Ford, which all your listeners should be doing. Honestly.
Okay.
If you drive a car, you should go through the Ford Performance School.
I'll make a note of that.
20,000 people do it.
Oh my gosh,
and you can order as part of buying a Mustang on the list of options. So, yeah, I think she's very typical of a lot of people. I grew up with motorsports, but she's kind of expanding her world from Formula One out.
Yeah, and it's so exciting to see, especially because I started with Formula One. Now I'm expanding, and that's what we want our audience to do too.
Good.
I wanted to ask you about how you felt about the Mustang GT3 winning this last weekend at the Rolex 24.
Crying like a baby.
I wanted to know what your reaction was, because that's the first time they had that global win of that scale at the Rolex 24.
It was always our dream.
Yeah.
People don't realize that when we created the Ford GT and won at Le Mans, we actually wanted to do that with a Mustang, but the silhouette to win at Le Mans was a 458 Ferrari, and the Mustang just couldn't ever be competitive because the silhouette is different. When they changed the silhouette rules and we globalized Mustang, now Mustang's the best-selling sports car in the world. We said, let's go back to Le Mans as a GT, and you're going to hear more about Le Mans tonight, by the way.
Yeah, I got the go-ahead to ask you. I was like, can I ask about this?
Yeah.
So literally 20 minutes ago, I saw the news, we got a sneak peek of it, of entering
You're going to broadcast this after this?
Not tonight. I'm going to wait till everything's over. I got the go-ahead to, as long as I waited.
Yeah, so we want to, just like Formula One, we want to beat Ferrari at Le Mans again.
Yeah, so you're entering World Endurance Championship as of 2027. I love World Endurance Championship. So seeing that news, I got so excited because, watching or going to be able to watch Ford in that. Like, this is a brand that we know.
Or
like, I
Ford
grew up with
versus Ferrari.
Ford, which I can't wait for.
Yep.
Like, that is going back to like old school times.
It's going to be a huge food fight. Yeah. Can't wait.
Any last words you want to share for your listeners, for our listeners?
Well, look, I just want to say to all your listeners and to you, as a person who's advocating, we're lucky in our industry we have an indigenous sport. A lot of brands don't. You make shampoo, what kind of sport are you going to get them on? But we don't make shampoo, we make cars.
You make cars, yeah.
and Ford's at its best when we really lean into emotion and having vehicles that are not commodities. And I love your show and I love your listeners because they're expanding the world. And all I would say to them is go to a race and get involved. Learn, ask questions, and you're going to find this world of motorsports opens up more and more things, and you're going to wind up having all sorts of friends you never thought you would have.
Yeah.
And you're really going to get addicted because it's a 45-year addiction for me.
Yes,
And
I'm on year 3, and
There you go.
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Because it's human nature to compete. It's human nature to be empathetic to people who put their basically life on the line to win.
It's addicting just
Look
to
at
watch.
Liam Lawson.
I know.
You know, when you unveil his life, his parents put their house up for sale.
To help him with his career, like, at such a
Yes.
young age, too. I know. It's...
So, like, and there are a lot of people that didn't make it where their parents did that. And that's how much racing means to Liam Lawson, that his parents were willing to sacrifice everything in their life. That's why people, the more they learn, the more they listen to you, the more they will realize how special our industry is, and owning a car can really be a lifestyle.
It really could. Thank you so much, Jim. It was
Thank
so
you.
fun chatting with you tonight.
I wish we had more time.
I know. I wish so, too.
I wish people would listen to my podcast,
You know what?
Drive.
We will promote the heck out of it, I promise you.
I
We'll
have
get you
some-
back on for another episode
I
or
have
something.
some awesome motorsports themed interviews. So
Okay, perfect. We'll make sure to take a listen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks to Emma, Zoe, and Hannah for joining me in the Drive podcast studio in Charlotte. And I hope you'll come back in just a few short weeks for season 3 of Drive, featuring my conversations with Rob Gronkowski, Jay Leno, T-Pain, Vicky Butler Henderson, and many more.